Next question: what is a snitch? What is a snitch? Define that.
In my opinion, not in my opinion, in what I learned coming up is that if you partake in the culture and the crime, you cannot then come outside of that culture or crime and expose things just because it didn't go your way. You gotta sit and do your time like a man.
Well, I mean, I won't say that I disagree, but I think that the definition of snitch that they're giving, I would probably agree with that definition too. But we got to understand that there's a lot of different definitions of snitch out there. All the way taking it back to when you were in school, elementary school, and the kid next to you did something wrong, and they might call you a snitch if you told somebody, whether you consented to their actions or not. You ride in the car with your boy, and he's got some stuff on you're not supposed to have. The cops pull you over. He's expecting you not to say anything, even though y'all didn't agree to what he had on him.
Right, but they weren't willing participants.
But no, and we agree. I'm just saying that we can't pretend like we haven't heard people call snitch for something like that as well.
I got you.
So are we? So for me, part of my issue with the snitch song is that Jordan Lucas did, and people's definitions of snitch, throughout, from Italian mafia movies all the way on, is that people change the definition to suit them.
Mm-hmm.
My definition of snitch is a snitch is somebody who doesn't have the power to fight against the more powerful group that says they're doing something that's morally wrong when they got caught doing something wrong. Meaning that, let's say we go pilfer things from a bank. I don't know we can say that word on. We go purloin things from a bank, right? And then we both get caught. Now we're already robbers. We're already people who don't have high moral character. But I'm expecting somebody who would literally have taken people's lives to get money that doesn't belong to them to hold to this other code over here that says, don't tell on me if we get caught, which is a lesser issue. So all it is people that have the power to go, well, we think that that's worse than we were doing together. So it's okay if you take from people who had nothing to do with anything. That's okay in our code. But you can't tell the authorities that you did it. That's way worse. Wooga, 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 wooga. This is crazy. So all it is now if he would have had the power and then they would be to call him a snitch, because what are they gonna do about it? It's the stronger telling the weaker, your morality sucks compared to mine.
Can I say something on that? It's all in context to me. So you're talking about, like, I guess, the weaker, the stronger, what's worse, what's better. If we're like talking about like the streets, right? How the streets handle stuff. I guess, is that kind of what we're talking about? Is it snitching according to that, or is it snitching by definition? I guess the point is like, if we're talking about snitching, let's use it in context, right? This is more of like, we're not talking about classroom snitching or the Webster definition of snitching. We're talking about the street code and what snitching is. Out here in these streets, if my neighbor does something to me, I'm telling, right? It's different. We're not in the streets. This is normal day-to-day life. But in the streets, it's a different kind of situation if I'm involved in a crime. So if I'm involved in a crime on the streets, that's where snitching means something. If I'm on the outside and I'm a witness, that's not snitching. I'm a witness to a crime, right? I'm not involved in it. If we're going to talk about the code of snitching in the streets. So when it comes to this, I guess that's the question I guess he wanted to ask y'all that I stated. Snitching by the streets or snitching by Webster? Is that kind of what you're saying, Enos?
Well, my issue with even the definition, the street definition you're saying, is that's pretending like the streets is one monolithic structure.
Hold on, you don't have to agree. You don't have to agree with what snitching on the streets is. That's just what it is, whether you agree with it or not.
No. What I'm saying is it's not. I'm disagreeing with. That's not what it is. Anybody who's been around the streets and around street people, it's contradictory. That's why I mentioned Italian mafia movies are the streets. Then you get into the Crips and Bloods and LA versus Memphis versus that. You talk to guys on the street, their definitions of snitch from these guys with the poor education systems is not what these eloquent men on here are saying.
Well,
it's going to be all over the place.
So what's the contradiction, if I may, for clarity of myself and the audience? What do you call the contradiction of street snitching?
So
between street people, between only people that are in the streets.
What I'm saying is the person who has the power of maybe the powers and population, they got more people on their side about what the definition is. They dictate to the weaker people what snitching is that benefit their situation. For instance, right? So let's say that I'm a drug dealer, you're a robber. We don't do any business together. I sell drugs, you rob people, right? And so the thing is, and I tell on you for doing that, you tell on me for doing that. We can lay each other stitches, even though we have no interaction. We haven't agreed on anything together. I don't believe in robbing. You don't believe in selling drugs. We have nothing in common. We don't agree on nothing. We're not the same streets. No, but if I tell on you, you'll call me a snitch, and if you tell on me, I'm gonna call you a snitch.
But that's more. But that's more of like honor amongst thieves, right? If we're all out here doing crime, it's like I'm not gonna, crap on you. You're not gonna crap on me. Whether the crime is right or wrong, that's not the conversation, right? So there also is an honor amongst thieves, right? So that also plays into the street. So if I'm a thief and you're a drug dealer, you're hustling over there. I'm hustling over here. In the streets world, I have no business interfering in what you're doing or snitching to do anything like that, right? Now, if I am...
Hold on, let Bogan good time. You want to address that?
Again, Maverick, it's not that I don't agree that that's a definition in there. I'm just saying, if the streets was an organization with the SOP or some kind of procedure or protocol, I would agree. Street people are going to say different things in different areas to suit different purposes, is my point. So you're making the streets some type of structure that has a set standard or guideline. That's not it.
But see, it does have a standard and guideline. And just because it has a standard and guideline doesn't mean that people abide by the code. That's why people are punished.
But you're saying the code justice. Again, the code. If you talk to Cameron, you talk to the real Rick Ross. The real Rick Ross says the name of the game in the streets is to snitch on somebody before you get snitched on. That's his words. Thus, why there's normally punishments for stuff like that, and ain't that guy locked up for?
That's not widely agreed upon though. That's an opinion of somebody who was in the game, but that's a singular person. That's a minority of people who agreed that's the case. He may be right, but he's also a civilian actor. That's an outsider definition, and is right, it's correct and true. But that's not the widely accepted definition of a snitch or the perspective of what snitching is or how it impacts the community.
Are you talking about the impact of the community, or are you just talking about snitching in general? Because those are, again, two different conversations. So, I mean, again.
And then you said the impact of the community, or what was that?
I was just saying he's bringing up the impact of the community, and I thought we were just basically trying to figure out what is snitching.
I meant the criminal community.
Yeah, okay.
Little THE.
But the criminal community and the streets aren't the same thing either. Again, what is the streets? We keep using these ambiguous terms that just mean something
criminal-wise.
Yeah, criminals. You just don't snitch on somebody that's doing crime.
You're a criminal if you get caught.
No, you're a criminal just because you're doing criminal activity.
It's not true. You're a convicted criminal if you get caught.
Yeah, you're a criminal just because you're doing criminal activity, whether you get caught or not.
I'm a criminal.
Okay, now we're splitting hairs though. We're not even talking about.
All right, so you got fresh hair, yes.
Y'all see the variation on the streets right there?
No. Hold on. Now we're just trying to argue, right? So again, yes, you're a criminal.
Reductio ad absurdum. I'm taking the argument, reducing it to its ridiculousness. That's a logical ploy to show that people's arguments are invalid by reductio ad absurdum. I'm going to put that on the screen. I'm reducing the argument to the ridiculous to show that logically you can't use it because it doesn't work across the board.
Well, then what Fresh said is correct. If you jaywalk, are you a criminal? Yes, you're not a convicted criminal, but you did commit a crime because you broke a law. So by definition, are you a criminal for jaywalking? Yes, you're a criminal. A misdemeanor, but it's still a crime. Now you didn't get caught. So you're not if I speed, am I a criminal? Yes, I'm speeding. Did I get caught? No, I didn't get caught. I'm not even guilty until I go to court and they say I'm guilty, right? Because I can murder somebody. Doesn't mean I murder someone. No, I haven't gotten caught and convicted.
Well, so now you did murder that person.
Well, just I
didn't murder. No, but I allegedly murdered the person.
Criminal is a legal term, everybody.
Correct. Crime, the intentional commission of an act unusually deemed socially harmful or dangerous, and specifically defined, prohibited, and punishable under criminal law.
Yeah.
So you don't. This doesn't say convicted.
Go ahead, Freshly.
What I was saying is the first thing is specifically defined, prohibited, and punishable. That means it's a crime when you commit it.
The action, not the
No,
action
you're a
itself,
criminal
because
when
it's
you're
defined
convicted.
as a crime when you commit it.
No,
So
we're not
jaywalking,
defining the word
supposed to do
crime.
that.
Sorry, we're not defining the word crime. A criminal is a legal term that somebody's convicted of committing a crime. Criminal is somebody who's convicted. So my only point is not saying that I have a better definition than Maverick, because I don't, or a better definition than Freshly or Will or Derek. I'm just saying that you can't say street or crime or whatever it is, like not crime, street or whatever the other term was, snitch, like it's some kind of universal definition amongst the streets.
But there is.
Streets is defined differently by different people, and so is snitch.
All right, the mode of argumentation of the form of argument in which a proposition is disproven by the following implications logically to an absurd conclusion. Arguments that use universal such as always, never, everyone, nobody, etc. are prone to being reduced to absurd conclusion. Their fallacy is the argument that could be reduced to absurdity. So in essence, how do you pronounce that?
Reductio ad absurdum
is a technique to expose the fallacy.
But he didn't do that.
The Merriam-Webster definition of criminal is relating to, involving, or being a crime, relating to crime, or to the prosecution of suspects in a crime.
Yes.
Which means you don't need to be convicted. It's relating to crime or to the persecution of suspects in a crime.
Or means adding on.
I'm going to maintain that it's a legal thing.
You can't say, hold on. The definition literally said one thing, and now you can't say I'm not going to split hairs.
Again, I just don't want to get into a definition battle online. I got dictionaries I can pull up too, but is that what we want to do for the rest of the show?
It's the same.
You're the one who introduced the definition.
Do you want me to go back and forth with Webster and Oxford and encyclopedias and etymologies right now? I don't mind doing it if Enos wants the show to be that.
But you literally just said you defined it as something.
I'm maintaining that the definition of criminal is you have to be convicted of a crime.
All right, cool. Let's go with that. Let's go with that to move forward. Okay, cool. You're right. It's being convicted of a crime. Cool.
I'm not agreeing to disagree. I don't mind moving forward, but I disagree.
I disagree too, but I'm not going to sit here and go back and forth about it, because even in the conversation when you gave your analogy.
All right, hold on. Well, Maverick and Fresh, just express what y'all disagree. What's the disagreement? When
Vulcan gave his analogy or whatnot about jaywalking, the answer is still yes. So you didn't prove anything wrong by that analogy, actually. So I get it.
But what are you disagreeing about? Let's make that clear for the audience.
Criminal is someone.
Oh, definition. Okay, all right.
Criminal is someone who
of a criminal
does a crime.
All right, hold on.
So go to an official law book if we're gonna do the dictionary, not somebody who doesn't specialize in that field. We're gonna put it up a legal book. It's like if we're gonna talk about psychology, we can go to the psychological books.
All right, show of hands. Who want to show?
I don't think we should do all that, but
we shouldn't. I openly disagree with, but it doesn't make or break the conversation. We can solve a great conversation with different definitions of criminal.
All right, let me get some comments in here. Help the Bear says, "He without sin among you, let them cast the first stone at her." This quote is from the Bible, John 8:7. We all criminals. At Vulcan.
My fault. I won. I lost.
All right. So look, let me ask y'all this.